In this video, we're going to look at gamification to build community. My name is McCourt. I've been using Classcraft with my classes for the past 2 years, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I've been using it and how I think I may be using it in the future. If you're not already familiar with me, I am a public high school teacher in Toronto in Canada. My background is in chemistry and physics, and so I teach science and math. I'm also one of 3 main moderators of the Flip class chat that happens on Twitter every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you have any questions about flipping classes or you want to learn from others who are doing so, please feel free to join us any week. I'll leave the rest of this for you to review in your own time. Before I begin, I'd like to just thank Gilbert Ng and Lucas Connor, who I've learned a lot about gamifying flipped learning over the last couple of years, mostly through FlipTech East Coast, but also Lucas has shared a lot of details with me on how he has used Classcraft, and my implementation is actually heavily based on his. There are some key differences, but even some of the documents that you'll see are things that I have modified based on what he has provided to me. The reasons that I gamify my classes are various, but first of all, I want to help students feel more positive about my class, because not everybody comes to math class saying, "Yay, I can't wait to learn more about math today." Maybe all of your students do, I don't know, mine don't. But they do appreciate games. And so I'm going to leverage their enjoyment of games to help them enjoy math class a little bit more. I also use it as part of my accountability system. So when you tell people that you flip classes and what that means, they often ask, well, what do you do if they don't watch the videos? This is part of the way that I ensure that they watch the videos before they come to class. It also helps them transition into a more class-oriented mindset rather than thinking about what was going on in the hallway or the lunch space or at home. It's not an academic routine, but it helps to signal to them that yes, we're transitioning into doing some class time together. Because Classcraft is played as a team, it also helps to foster a sense of belonging in the class. They know that they're coming to be part of their little unit and that they are going to either succeed or fail as a team and that they need to work together. So it helps me to build a learning community because sometimes they can motivate each other and help each other understand better than I could as sort of the adult in the room, the caring adult in the room, but the adult in the room. And I also do it because it's fun for me. Back when I had free time, I used to enjoy gaming more than I am able to now. And so I enjoy games. Many of my students enjoy games. Let's use that to bring some positivity into the class. My platform of choice is Classcraft. It has free and premium versions, so some of what you'll see represents premium content, but you can use quite a lot in Classcraft without spending a cent. It is again team-based, and there are 3 interdependent roles, not independent, interdependent roles on each team. So you have your warriors, your healers, and your mages, and each of those roles has aspects to it that the other roles need if they are going to succeed. Like most systems, it has rewards for positive behaviors and consequences for negative behaviors, but there is also a system built in where the team, again, needs to either succeed or fail as a team. And so if they let one of their members fall in battle, there is a small consequence to the team as a whole. And so they need to work together to keep that from happening. Every semester, I start my classes off the same way in terms of using Classcraft. I obviously need to help them understand how the game works, what the game structure is, and what those 3 roles are, and how they help each other. I outline the actions that trigger the positive and the negative consequences, like you would do with any behavior system. And I do this partly through the rules summary and the achievement list that I'm going to show you now. You can get Classcraft to generate this rules summary once you have all the setup done of your classes in terms of the behaviors and the powers that you're going to use with your classes. And so it gives you it gives the students a brief summary of what the game is and how it's going to work. It talks about the things that they can get positive rewards for. This is a little vague. I'll explain why in a while. And the actions that can cause negative consequences. It also outlines the powers that belong to each of the 3 classes. And this is rather a lengthy document. It also outlines the sentences that can result if they do fall in battle. And since I'm a premium user, also how they can get gold pieces to spend on their character. Now, that's rather long and a little more detailed than they really need, other than the power trees. But this part here where it says just basic achievement, heroic achievement, epic achievement, mega achievement, that is based on, again, I'm using Lucas Connor's system of achievements. Rather than have every single positive action that I could reward listed individually within Classcraft, we group them into these different levels of achievement based on how difficult it is to obtain the achievement. So there are 25, 50, 100, and 250 point levels of these achievements, and there's also different groupings. So some are achieved individually, some as a team, and some as an entire class. Now, most of them are individual, right? So you can see that there are several here listed at 25, 50, 100, and a couple of 250 point level achievements that you can achieve individually. And there are a handful of team achievements. Some of these are based on the entire team getting their individual achievement, and some of them are based on saying, hey, you know what, you need to achieve this as a team or not at all. So there are no individual kind of parts to it. You either help the team succeed or you don't get the points. There are a few class achievements. Those are basically like, hey, fun rewards, like, hey, we all happen to be in class and on time today. Let's celebrate that with a little point bonus. So that's kind of fun for them. The main advantage of having the achievement set up this way is that it simplifies your entry within Classcraft. So instead of going to search for the individual achievement in Classcraft when I want to award the points, I just have to know, oh, this one is worth 50 points, and I click on Heroic Achievement and they receive the corresponding points that are appropriate. Now that the students know how the game works, it's time for them to make their teams. We need to get the game going. And so I do allow the students to form their own teams, choose their own team members, and they have to choose a seating area within the class that's going to be for their team. I have them choose a team name, and they choose one of the Classcraft provided crests, and they have to decide which team members are going to serve in which role. Now, I do let them choose their own team members, and I let them choose their own name, but I reserve the right to change either of those if there becomes a problem or if they choose a name that is inappropriate. I do allow time in class for character setup as well, because I find it goes more quickly and it's more reliable if I'm there to kind of troubleshoot as we go, rather than send them home with the code and say, just do this at home. It doesn't take very long, and if I need to help them get the character set up, then I can use the teacher screen to do that. There is an app that students can use to use their powers for their individual characters if they want, but it's completely optional. And I also give an achievement for creating a backstory for their character. Half a dozen students have done it. They really enjoy it. And then it gives me a little bit of a window into their creative side, shall we say. There is an item shop that Connor and I both use in our implementations, which opens up a few weeks into the semester when their character has accumulated a bit of gold. That's not actually built into Classcraft, but it's just a list of, hey, here are some prices for what you could spend, and here's the health potions that are available, here are the mana potions that are available, and a few other items that are helpful to them in class. This slide lists the sort of daily flow, but rather than step you through this, I'm just going to show you how it works in the Classcraft platform. I'm going to go through this part a little bit quickly because I want you to see that it doesn't take tons of time in class for me to actually do this gamification stuff. So I'm going to select the Flipped for FlipTech 2020 mock class that I've created and put a few students into. These are not real students, but the team names are names that students have come up with. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to go to the team view and I'm going to do attendance. So I turn to the part of the room where Bond Ionic Bond sits. Are you guys all here? Okay, I see 3 people sitting there. Fantastic. So you're going to get your 25 points for individual attendance and your 25 point team bonus. So you're actually going to get a heroic achievement today, guys. So 50 XP and GP for each of you. Zinc Fast, I see Catherine is away today. All right, so she's absent. James and Marie, you're each going to get still your 25 individual attendance points. Thank you for being here. And you're not going to get your team bonus, but that's okay. When she comes back next time, maybe you'll get it next class, right? Attendance is done. I'm going to take out my scan sheet. I'm going to mark that Catherine is absent. Somebody needs to take this attendance down for me. Who is it going to be? Well, I'm going to use the Wheel of Destiny to choose a random player who is present and hasn't been recently selected. James, I need you to take the attendance down for me today, okay? And thank you for doing that. You're going to get the Messenger of the Game Master points for that. So here's 10 experience and gold. I know you guys really like those, even though 10 points isn't a lot. They fight about that sometimes. They really want their 10 points. All right, so the attendance is done. It's off to the office. Time for us to do our favorite part. We're going to do the random events for today. And depending on what's going on in class, if there's a test or a major lab going on, we don't have time for this, but we do today. So we're going to run the We Are the Champions random event. Your team wins the team melee at a local tournament, gains a prize. Fantastic. One random team is going to get 200 gold. I wonder which team it's going to be. It's going to be Zinc Fast. So those of you who are here today, congratulations, getting 200 gold points. So some of the random events affect a team, some affect everybody of a particular role, some affect only an individual, some affect the entire class, and they can be positive or negative. So there's always some tension and excitement to see what's going to happen. My favorite random event is probably the one that is titled the Royal Artist. And during that event, the students get 2 minutes and they have to try and draw a picture of me. So here are some actual drawings that students have made of me through the Royal Artist random event. It only takes a couple of minutes before we carry on to the next thing. All right. So random events are done. Let's see who's done their pre-work. So I'm going to check Edpuzzle or check the Google form if I haven't already to see who's done their work. Oh, George, you didn't do your pre-work, so I'm going to have to give you the unprepared consequence that you don't have your pre-work done. You're going to lose 10 hit points for that. And unfortunately, that means that your team cannot get the team bonus for having the pre-work done. Zinc Fast, do you all have your stuff here? I see that you've all done the pre-work. Does everybody have their binder, calculator? Okay, I can see you've all got your stuff. So I'm going to give you the 25 point... Actually, hang on, I think it's 50. Yes, you get your 50 point achievement for having everybody on the team has their pre-work done and has their supplies present. Fantastic. And now we're ready to carry on with the flow of events for the rest of the class. I will check to see if anybody wants to use their special abilities for their particular role. So healers, do they want to do any healing? Mages, do they want to transfer mana to anybody? And warriors, do they want to like use first aid or anything like that? And I'll see if anybody wants to buy items from the item shop, but we're pretty much done with Classcraft for class time now, and it didn't take us that long. I will also keep an eye out during class for whether anybody is going to have any consequences or rewards based on Classcraft behaviors. So let's say that, let's see who's running low on health here. Okay, let's say that while Percy is off at the washroom, May decide that she's going to be silly and hide Percy's phone, which is pretty disrespectful to Percy's property. And so I do have a disrespecting others consequence. This is the largest health point hit that they can take in my class, is by showing disrespect to each other. So if they don't kind of keep each other in line, then May is going to take a 20 hit point hit, and if she is not protected by her warrior, she will fall in battle. So let's say that George says, no, she's gonna take that hit. May will fall in battle, and she's going to be assigned a random consequence by the game, a random sentence. And so her random sentence is that she has to remain silent, no talking for the next 15 minutes, using only paper, a whiteboard, or technology to communicate. And she's going to accept that fate. Some of the sentences are more severe than others. There's even one that says, hey, guess what? You got lucky this time. There is no consequence. Because May fell in battle and her teammates weren't able to keep her up, there is, again, a small hit to her teammates. So each of her teammates is also going to lose 10 hit points. It won't cause them to fall in battle, but it's just a little reminder that the team succeeds or fails as a group. And so that is how I take care of most of the events that happen during the course of a class. Sentences, those consequences, I deal with as appropriate. Some of them have to be dealt with immediately, and some of them take place the next class. Another aspect of Classcraft that I've occasionally used with my classes are the boss battles. So if I go to the class tools and click on boss battles, I can run these either to make teams compete against each other or students compete against each other. And they're basically a little quiz. So I usually have teams compete. It's just a little review activity that I use. I don't actually associate any marks with it, although I guess you could. So if we're going to start this battle, this one is based on astronomy, and it's going to ask each team to answer a certain question. So I'd give the team a certain amount of time to discuss which answer they want to give here. And let's say they say, oh, hey, I think the Mayans were the first astronomers to record detailed astronomical observations. I'm going to say, reveal the answer. Oh, no, you said the wrong answer. And so you're going to take a hit. And this just keeps going, alternating between teams and various questions until either the boss falls or the teams fall. So that's kind of a fun activity for them. It's kind of like doing a Kahoot, but it's got a little bit higher stakes for the individual characters involved. So that's how I've used Classcraft so far with my classes. The next thing I'd like to explore as I keep going with it is story mode. Classcraft has actually, as a company, come up with a set of storylines that you can use with your units. So let's say that there are 4 assignments you want students to complete as part of a mini unit. You can actually get story, like flavor text from Classcraft to go with each of those 4 assignments. It won't be directly associated with math or chemistry or anything, but it's just, hey, you completed this assignment, here's a bit more of the story, right? So it's a little bit of a cookie trail to keep them going, so that when they get to the end of the unit, they'll find out what the resolution is to the conflict or the answer to the riddle, or right? And so it's a great way to kind of step them through and say, like, hey, here's a little story reward for getting through the unit, and good job. So there's more information about story mode on the Classcraft website. And so if I take, say, Season 1, Episode 1, I can import that into my class, and it appears in the quests area. So here's Episode 1, Quest 1, The Lost Sprite, and it sets up sort of like a map of assignments, right? So the students would open up their little area here, and here's some introductory text where they can read about what the story is all about. And then I say, okay, everybody is ready to move on to the first actual assignment. And this is going to be associated with a particular task in Google Classroom. So this is actually associated with a certain assignment in Google Classroom, and they need to be able to complete that. And there is, again, some story text to go along with it. And then as they get done, I can say, okay, so George is ready to move on to the next assignment. I'm going to check that off. And he is now able to go to the fastest way down, the next point in the story. So that's kind of a neat way of being able to step them through. Obviously, there is some uncertainty regarding what class is even going to look like in the fall. So if we have all the students present in class or all the students online, I can work with either of those using Classcraft the way I have, although it would be a virtual sense if it's all online. If it's a hybrid model, I'm going to have to reconsider how I do the teams. And so that's going to be interesting to consider. I'd also like to actually use, I have achievements listed in the chart related to test grades and improvement and module completion that I haven't honestly been using well, and so I need to improve on that. I'd like to do more boss battles and more team challenges that aren't necessarily directly related to like a review activity. And Classcraft also has recently introduced something called Kudos, which is a way for students to give encouragement and positive feedback to each other. And I'd like to train the students how to use that. So I need to learn more about that myself. But if we can build, again, that sense of belonging and inclusion within the class, I think that that is a fantastic reason to gamify. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, the live Zoom chat associated with this presentation during the FlipTech conference is going to be on Sunday, July 12th, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, and you can see the schedule for that at the link that's provided. Or if you're seeing this outside of the event or you can't make it to the chat, you can find me on Twitter. Again, my Twitter name is Flipping with Joy, and I'd be happy to discuss this at any point with you. Thanks for watching.